Hi. Today I want to talk about one important thing if you want to sell your application or part of your application or digital products within your application in iOS and Android. And to do this, the first thing is for sure that you need to set up these let's say products inside the Appstore or the Playstore developer pages. For this, I'm showing you one of my old application which was not set up for any selling activities, so the application was free of charge. Um, and also I didn't have any in-app features or subscriptions. So in both cases, in Android and iOS, you have three things what you can set up. At first is of course your application price. So if you plan to sell your application on the App Store or the Play Store, then you need to set up the application price itself. In the iOS case, on the developer side, you have this left side menu under your application screen, and the monetization area. You have these three options: so pricing and availability, in-app purchases, and subscriptions. So let's start with the pricing. Set up the pricing is relatively simple because you just need to add the price to the application. So if you go to this pricing and availability, then you can set up the prices, and of course you can set up that where you want to apply these prices. You can set up different prices for the different countries or different regions. So if you say global price, then you need to select the date, let's say today, and then you need to select the price range. So in the iOS case or in the App Store, you have pricing, so standard prices. So you can't set up your price just as you want. As you can see that there is a list of different prices, and you can select from these, and you can set up these prices. Of course, if you want to have a higher price, then you can set it as well. But basically, you are very much limited that what you can enter here. Of course, you can set up this price. You can see that how it looks like in the different countries, and you can change to whichever you would like to have. So this is pretty simple, as I said. If you set this up and you basically load your application to the App Store, then when it will appear, or you change from a free application to a sellable application, then the price will appear, and from that point onwards the user can buy your application. Everybody who basically downloaded the application before you set up the price, then those people can download the application still free of charge. So whenever you change the version or something, they will be still available free of charge for the users who already, let's say, purchase free of charge the application. So you need to make sure that if you want to sell the product, you decide to sell it right from the beginning. Okay, let's go to the in-app purchases. So in the in-app purchases, you have several possibilities, and as you can see that when you click to add one of the in-app purchase option, then you have two things. Either it's a consumable or a non-consumable thing. The difference between these that the consumable in-app feature or digital thing can be sold several times within the same application. So when the user purchased the item and downloaded it or used it, and your application makes sure that basically it is reporting to the App Store that the feature itself or the purchase is consumed, then the user can purchase an additional one. So you can see several cases of these, like different coins in some games, or maybe songs or whatever, which you might purchase several times. The non-consumable is something which you can purchase once, and then it is for you forever. I mean, for example, if you have an additional feature in your application, maybe the rest of the application is free, but if the user is paying for the extra features, then this is typically a non-consumable purchase. So the user purchasing it, and this purchase will be recorded and can be reused anytime by the user. So this can be restored if you, for example, delete the application from your phone and then you download it again. Then you need to restore this purchase, and then you can use it again in the application. Okay, so how you can set up this? So let's take one of these example. You said consumable time, and then you have a reference name. For example, if you say that I don't know, feature purchase. Actually, it's I say it's consumable, doesn't matter. This reference name will be something which will appear in the App Store page, or when you make the purchase in the application, then this will appear. And then you need to make a product ID. And this product ID, I would recommend to use the same way if you are making Android and iOS application for the same purpose, and you want to sell products in both versions. Then this product ID, I would propose to use the same ID for the App Store and for the Play Store as well. So let's say this will be, I don't know, purchase feature, and this ID will be used inside the application, so you need to refer to this product ID later on. Okay, let's create it. So it's saying that you have missing metadata inside the application. So here you need to add some additional things. So in which country you want to use, and then you need to add pricing. So here you can set up different prices. You have a base currency or base region. You can set it wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. It's just defining the price application itself. So all the rest of the countries will be using this base price and will be let's say converted to the local currency. So then you can set up the price. Let's say it's just 99 cents, and then you can go on. And as you can see that it's immediately showing the prices for the different countries in the local currencies, or in US dollars, or in euro, whatever is the App Store currency form or currency type in that country. And if you want to change for any of these countries, like here, for example, from Colombia, then you can change it, and you can define it to that local currency, and then it will be different for that country. So when you say next and confirm, then these prices will be applied, and then you can have the localization. So here you can or you need to describe the that what is this in-app itself, and this you can do it in different languages. Of course, you can do it or you need to do it in the base currency language, or base location base country language, and you can localize it to your local stores. Of course, it depending on your application and where you want to sell that. So when you add this localization, then you can see that which localization you want to add. And let's say we have the English US, and display name, I don't know, feature. So this and the description. So this one can be a bit longer, but as you can see that you don't have too many characters to be explain your in-app function or in-app feature. So this you need to consider how you can explain that what is the thing what you want to sell. And then you can put an additional image here. So if you want to have a kind of icon for it, then you can do it. Then you need to add the text category. There can be countries where the text is different from the product. I mean the application text category, but if you leave it like this, just to have the match the parent app, this is more than enough. And then you need to shortly explain with a screenshot for the review process that what is this in-app purchase is covering, and how the user will see it, and what you can do with it. And typically this review should explain, for example, why the in-app purchase is a consumable or non-consumable, and sometimes if it is a consumable, then you might need to explain it more clearer or more longer to the reviewers that what you are planning to sell. And typically this is to avoid that some developers might be charging the user several times for the same thing, and this should be avoided, of course. And Apple is really taking care about this to protect the users from any kind of tricks or this kind of deals. So once you did it, you can save it. Most probably it will give me an error message because I did not fill everything, but it seems that it saved it. Anyway, but most probably it will not be reviewed, of course, as it is. So if you might or you don't have this status here green, then you should not send your application into a review process. Okay, so let's go back, and here you can see that you have this in-app purchase already listed here, but as you can see that the status is yellow. Okay, let's go to the subscriptions. Subscriptions are pretty similar to the in-app purchases, but it's a kind of renewable in-app purchase. So once you set up a subscription on a similar way, then this subscription will be behaving on the same way as the in-app purchases, but once it purchased, it will be renewed until the user is not canceling this subscription. So if you say that you want to have maybe an online newspaper or kind of application what you want to charge on on a monthly use, then you can set it up like this, and then the user will be charged in the regular interval, and you don't need to do anything in the application anymore, just to check every time that the subscription is still valid or not. But of course, once it became invalid, so the user is not paying anymore for the feature, you can switch it off, or you can remind the user to set it up again. So here you need to have subscription groups. So you might have several different subscriptions. So let's say this will be a feature subscription, and this will be just creating a group. So this will not do really anything with the subscription itself. It's just will be doing the kind of grouping of the subscriptions, and here you need to have again a reference name. Let's say feature, and here the product ID you should have on a way that it should also identify the let's say the regularity of the subscription. So let's say here I'm defining a sub which is I don't know, monthly. And then create it. So here once you create it, it's pretty similar to the in-app purchase, as you can see. But here one additional thing is that of course you need to choose the subscription duration. So if you say it's 1 month, because we mentioned the monthly here, then we can do it like this. Availability again similar like for the in-app purchases. Then subscription price, and here you can choose, I don't know, 500 forints, and then again all the regions, and confirm. We didn't change anything. Localization again similar like before, I don't go into it. Image, description, and so on. So let's save it. Okay, and let's go back to the subscriptions. So you can see that this appears, and what we should mention here that we might add additional ones. So let's say this will be the quarterly feature, and here again a name, sub quarterly. Let's create it, and then 3 months is the duration. So every 3 months it will be renewed. Okay, price. Of course, here you should select the price on a way that it is meaningful. So typically you are planning to charge maybe a quarterly more expensive if you add it together for a year. A monthly is more expensive than a quarterly, and the quarterly is a bit more expensive than a yearly subscription. So okay, let's save it. And why this is interesting is that the system itself doesn't really know based on the duration that how this should be let's say charged. So which is the most frequent, and so on. So to do this, if you were setting up your different subscriptions or later on you decide that you might have a monthly, a quarterly, and a yearly subscription, and you set up a fourth one, which is maybe the half yearly subscription, then the order would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and this would not be the right order, because the most frequent should be the first. So and the least frequent should be the last, and in this way the half yearly should be the third one. So to do this, you can change the order of these subscriptions, and there is one additional thing, that if you are having different groups here, then you can even group these things, but I don't want to go into this. You can figure it out if you are starting to build your application. The basic thing is that you need to set up these subscriptions like this. Okay, one additional thing is that when you are making your let's say or you are planning to submit your application for an approval, and typically when you have an in-app purchase in your application, this should be sent in for the review with the first let's say with the first submission of the application, together with the in-app purchase items. Later on, the in-app purchase items will not be reviewed. So only the first time you send in an in-app purchase for review, this is the time when it is checked by the Appstore reviewers. And if it is rejected, then you need to correct the issue, and you also need to send it in, or you need to explain to the reviewer that why you want to or what you want to sell and how you want to sell it. And what is interesting here is that that when you want to send in your application for a review, then you also need to mention these in-app purchases inside your application review, application submission. So once you set up your in-app purchases or subscriptions, these should be appearing inside your application main page, somewhere here. However, this is not immediately visible, so I can't show it right now. But when you have an application like this one, so if you have an application where you already have in-app purchases or in-app purchase features approved, you will get this section under the build section with the in-app purchases and subscriptions, and you need to select those ones which are, let's say, new or could be newly released. So in this case, you can see that there is only one subscription is listed. Basically, this one is something similar to what I was talking about. So a half yearly subscription, which is not yet in the application, but it was already set up. So I could be able to add it to the application with the next release of the versions. But you just need to wait for a while, and you need to complete the metadata for your application. So here in this sample application, as you could see that if you have this in-app purchases with the missing metadata, this will not be released by the reviewers, and in this case cannot be used in the application. But I will show it to you that still you can start to to use these subscriptions in your test application, and you can start to test the application with it. And basically it's also needed because you need to put into the metadata sheet that this kind of screenshots or something which can explain to the reviewers that what you want to sell. So this is how you can test it in the application, and then you can put this information into this developer pages, and then once it is released, you can send it in for the complete release of the application together. Okay, so yeah, let's go to the Android version, and the Android version is, I would say, pretty similar to the iOS version. So here you have the application itself, and then you have this monetize with Play, and then here you have the different options, but of course you need to have the products, and you can see the up pricing, in-app products, and subscriptions, and all the same, or all these features, let's say, pretty much the same like in the iOS. The only difference is that here you need to decide at the beginning if you want to have your application a free application or a chargeable application. So here you can see that because this was a free application, you don't have the chance to change it to a payable one. So you need to start up or you need to set up a new application identification, and then select right from the beginning that this will be a paid application. So in this way, the Android Play Store is a bit different than the iOS. So in iOS, you can change the up pricing whenever you want. So if it was free, you can change it to a paid application, or if it was paid, you can change back to a free application. So in the Play Store, you don't have this this option. The in-app products, pretty much the same as you have seen it in the iOS version. So you have to have the product name, product description, of course product ID. The product ID will be the ID which I mentioned that should be similar to what you were using in the iOS version. So I put it like per purchase feature. So basically you can set it up like this, and so the description of it, I mean the name of it, the short name, and then the description that what the user can purchase. Okay, and then the pricing, and here you can select it from a template what you already set up inside your application, so you can have your own let's say a price table defined, but you can set it up right here. So the default can be here. Of course, the local prices you will see, but you can set up the price here, and you should consider that here what you mention is not the price what the user will see, but the price or the amount what you would like to get for your application. So what I did not mention that both stores are basically deducting taxes and royalties and whatever they consider to be part of their service. So basically you will have your proceeding a bit lower than this, and of course it depends on the country. this amount can be different because of the different tax rates what the countries are applying to digital products. So here what you need to do is that you can set up the price. So if we had in the App Store like I don't know, $1, which is about 400 forints. That was the gross price. So this is what the user will see, and what you will get is somewhere around maybe 250 or something like that. So here you also need to make sure that if you want to have consistent pricing between the iOS application and the Android, then you should be using a similar pricing here. But as you need to define it in net value, you should set it up like that. As you can see, that I was already calculating the price for Hungary, and this is somewhere around this amount. Of course, if we change it to 300, then it will be definitely higher. And this will be slightly changed, of course, because you type in here a value, but because the Play Store is also applying prices which are as you can see ending for not an exact so not a value which is can be divided by 10. It's always ending with a 9. So if you add even maybe 1 forint here, let's see what it does. Still the same, and this value will be not exactly what finally what you will get, because this is the minimum what you should get for it. So as you can see that if I'm going up to maybe 320, it's already changing. As you can see that from the 379 it goes to 400, and you can see that it's changing by this values, but it's always ending to the 9. So it's just an additional info, but basically you can set it up as you want. And once you have done it, and here you also have this consumable version, but as you can see that here the developer site is not mentioning it like consumable or not non-consumable in-app purchase. But once you click here that allow users to purchase more than one of these products in a single transaction, this is also allowing to purchase more, or even maybe purchase 3 of these items from the application. So I typically click this on because this will avoid any issues with the sales. So once you save it, it will be listed on the pages. And when you try to activate it, so if we go to the in-app products, this should appear already here, but it's not yet activated. So you should activate it when you want to get it released, and you should basically do it on a way that that we did it in the iOS application. So let's go to activate. And as you see, this is already active. So here the important thing is that inactivated purchases you can test in your application. Okay, subscriptions. Okay, so so here the subscriptions are a bit again different, but basically the basic concept is the same. So you have subscriptions what will be renewed on a regular base. So let's say here sub quarterly features, and the name should be okay. So yeah, then we create it. And then what you need to do is that you need to add to the base plan ID. So this will be base subscriptions. So this will be, what did I do? Subscription. So this will be an auto renewable one. You can see that it's a prepaid subscription, and some this is a bit weird, however, but if you want to have a real subscription, then you should use this auto renewing. So this prepaid and installments is something what you can use on a way which is not really let's say helpful, or you need to make or you need to handle the payments differently. So I would suggest just to use this auto renewing payments. And here you can again select the period. So I'm not going through again to set up the monthly, quarterly, and so on, but here you just select the monthly. You can set up a grace period. So basically within this grace period, if the payment is not received, the user still can access the content. If you say it's 0, then basically you can immediately cancel the availability of your features in the application. Why it's saying that we recommend 7 days grace period? Because sometimes these payments are not happening right away, so you might need to wait a little bit until the payment arrives to your account, and the system can handle it properly. Okay, so here you can also change how you can want to charge the user for any subscription changes. So if you change from a monthly to a quarterly charges, then you can decide what you want to use. So you can charge the user at the end of the billing period, or you can charge immediately when the change is happening. So it depends on you how you want to handle it, how you want to use it. um, Select one of these, and then when the change is happening by the user, then you can react on this on the way as it was selected. So if you charge it immediately, of course this will be charged when the change is happening, but of course for just for that period which the user is about to pay for the remaining let's say time of the period. Okay, so there is an additional one. So if a subscription can be resubscribed and so on, so I usually leave it alone. So before we can save this plan, we need to also set the prices. So at first you need to select that which price you want to set, and here of course you can set the prices, and let's say we are setting it for all countries, and then select the set price, and then we can say that this price will be, I don't know, 100 hoof for a month. And of course, again, this is a net price, so you should set it here what you would like to get at least for the subscription. And now the prices are to be set. Let's go down, okay, and try to save it. Okay, so something is still not okay. Okay, so we set up the first subscription, and we also can activate it just to get it working. So if we go to the subscriptions, then this should appear here, and as you can see that it's related to one active base plans, and we have it set it up. Okay, so this is how you can create the different in-app purchasing and subscriptions in the developer sites, and once you set these up, you can go into your application and you can start to work with them. But this will be in an additional trainings or tutorial session. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.